Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is a pro-revenge story. I've seen posts about office lunch thieves before, but I never got around to sharing my own experience until now. This happened a couple of years ago when I was fresh out of college, working as an assistant to a software engineer. The office was in a huge building in downtown Seattle, with our tech company occupying 5 floors. Being a recent grad, I was always grabbing lunch from the trendy organic market down the street, usually some fancy poke bowl. For the first few months, everything was fine. Our floor had its own break room with a fridge, and no one messed with anyone's food. Then we got a batch of summer interns, and suddenly lunches started disappearing. It wasn't just mine either. Any store-bought lunch would vanish, name on it or not. After 2 weeks of this, we were all getting pretty pissed off. I mean, don't mess with my ahi tuna, right? One day, Ethan, one of the senior devs, comes up with an idea. "Hey guys," he says, "throw in a few bucks each. I've got a plan to catch this jerk." The next week, he texts everyone who usually buys lunch to meet in the break room before work. He also sends a message to the whole office saying, "Don't touch any packaged lunches today, trust me on this." We gather around as Ethan pulls out these little spray bottles. "It's UV reactive," he explains with a grin. "Totally invisible, but it'll light up under a black light." Lunchtime rolls around and surprise, surprise, every single packaged lunch is gone. Ethan whips out a black light and starts searching for fingerprints. It's like a scene from some low-budget tech startup crime show. We find glowing marks on the break room door, down the hallway, and on the elevator buttons. We follow the trail down to the 3rd floor, and I'm thinking it's got to be one of the interns. Boy, was I wrong. The fingerprints lead us straight to the desk of Mark, the head of marketing. When we confront him, his hands are glowing like he just came out of a rave. "Busted," I say, trying not to laugh at his confused face. Mark knows he's caught red-handed, or should I say, glowing-handed. We strike a deal. No HR involvement if he buys pizza for our floor every Friday for 2 months and lets us take a picture. We stayed late that day, printing out hundreds of copies of Mark's glowing face with the caption, "Dirty, dirty lunch thief." Those things went up everywhere. Bathrooms, elevators, every office door in sight. Needless to say, the lunch thefts stopped, and I got to enjoy my poke bowls in peace. And every time I saw Mark in the elevator after that, I couldn't help but smirk. Lesson learned. Don't mess with hangry software engineers. The next one is an entitled people story. I never thought I'd find myself in a situation straight out of a soap opera, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've lived in my modest suburban home for the past 15 years. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine. Or so I thought until Karen from the Homeowner Association decided to turn my life upside down. Let me give you some background. Our neighborhood has had a homeowners association for as long as I can remember. I'm not a member. Never saw the point, to be honest. They mostly seemed concerned with enforcing arbitrary rules about lawn care and fence heights. No thanks. Karen moved in about 5 years ago and quickly appointed herself Queen Bee of the Homeowner Association. She's in her 50s with that trademark, "Can I speak to the manager" haircut and an attitude to match. From day one, she made it her mission to recruit every homeowner into her little kingdom. I rebuffed her advances politely at first. "No thanks, Karen. I'm happy managing my own property." But she was persistent, showing up at my door with pamphlets and guilt trips about community spirit. When that didn't work, the passive-aggressive comments started. "Oh, Mike, your grass is looking a bit long. If you were in the homeowner association, we could help you with that." Or, "That paint color is interesting." The homeowner association has a list of approved colors that would really boost your curb appeal. I mostly ignored her, which only seemed to make her more determined. But I never imagined she'd go as far as she did. It was a Tuesday morning when I heard a loud knocking at my door. I opened it to find Karen standing there with a smug grin on her face and a manila folder in her hand. "Good morning, Mike," she said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "I have some exciting news for you." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh?" She thrust the folder at me. "The Homeowner Association held a special auction last night, and guess what? Your house was up for sale." I blinked, sure I had misheard her. "I'm sorry, what?" "Your house," she repeated slowly, as if talking to a child. "It was auctioned off last night, and I'm the proud new owner." I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. When it didn't come, I laughed nervously. "Very funny, Karen, but I think I'd know if my house was for sale." Her smile never wavered. "Oh, it wasn't publicly listed. It was a private auction for homeowner association members only. Completely legal, I assure you." She paused, her eyes gleaming. "I got it for a steal, too." I felt my temper rising. "Karen, I don't know what game you're playing, but this isn't funny. My house is not for sale, it was never for sale, and it certainly wasn't sold at some imaginary auction. She sighed dramatically. I had a feeling you might be difficult about this. Here, see for yourself. She opened the folder and pulled out an official-looking document. I snatched it from her hand, my eyes scanning the paper. It looked like a property deed with my address clearly printed at the top, and there at the bottom was Karen's loopy signature. "This is ridiculous," I sputtered. "This can't be real. I never agreed to sell my house." Karen's smile turned cold. "You didn't have to. As a non-homeowner association member, you forfeited your right to participate in neighborhood decisions. The board voted unanimously to put your property up for auction." I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. You can't just decide to sell someone else's house. She shrugged. The paperwork says otherwise. Now I'm willing to be generous. I'll give you 2 weeks to move out. That should be plenty of time to find a new place. I slammed the door in her face. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone and called my buddy Steve, who happens to be a real estate lawyer. I gave him a quick rundown of the situation. "Jesus, Mike," he said when I finished. I don't even know where to start with how illegal that is. Send me pictures of those documents right away. And whatever you do, don't leave your house. I'll be over in an hour." True to his word, Steve showed up 60 minutes later with a briefcase and a grim expression. He examined the deed Karen had given me, his frown deepening with each passing second. "This is a joke," he finally said. "A bad one, but a joke nonetheless. This document has no legal standing whatsoever. For one thing, it's not even notarized. For another, you can't sell a property without the owner's consent, homeowner association or no homeowner association." I felt a wave of relief wash over me. "So what do we do?" Steve's eyes glinted. "We fight fire with fire, or in this case, crazy with the law." Over the next few days, Steve helped me gather evidence of Karen's harassment and this latest stunt. We filed a police report for harassment and attempted fraud. Then we prepared a cease and desist letter outlining exactly how many laws Karen and the homeowner association had broken with their auction. But Karen wasn't going down without a fight. She started telling the neighbors that I was squatting in her house. Some of them, longtime homeowner association members, actually believed her. I started finding nasty notes in my mailbox and waking up to toilet paper in my trees. The final straw came when I arrived home from work to find a for sale sign in my front yard and Karen giving a tour to a young couple. "And here's the lovely front porch," I heard her say as I pulled into the driveway. "Of course, we'll have to evict the current occupant, but that shouldn't take long." I saw red. Storming up to the group, I ripped the sign out of the ground. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" The couple looked startled, but Karen just smiled that infuriating smile. "Mike, how nice of you to join us. I was just showing the Johnsons their potential new home." "This is my home," I growled, "and it's not for sale." Karen tutted. "Now, Mike, we've been over this. The sale is final. You're only embarrassing yourself." The couple was looking between us, clearly confused. Is there a problem here?" the woman asked hesitantly. "Yes," I said firmly. "This woman is trying to sell you a house that isn't hers to sell. I'm the legal owner, and I have no intention of moving." Karen's face darkened. "Mike, if you don't stop this nonsense, I'll be forced to call the police." I laughed humorlessly. "Please do. I'd love to explain to them how you're attempting to fraudulently sell my property." The couple quickly made their excuses and left, leaving me face to face with a fuming Karen. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "The homeowner association has ways of dealing with troublemakers like you." I stood my ground. "Bring it on, Karen, I'll see you in court." And that's exactly what happened. With Steve's help, I filed a lawsuit against Karen and the homeowner association for harassment, attempted fraud, and defamation. The evidence was overwhelming. Emails, the fake deed, witness statements from neighbors who had seen Karen's antics. The day of the hearing arrived and Karen showed up with a sleazy-looking lawyer and a stack of homeowner association bylaws. She actually tried to argue that the homeowner association had the right to seize and sell properties of non-members for the good of the community. The judge was not impressed. He tore into Karen and the homeowner association, calling their actions a gross overreach of authority and borderline criminal. In the end, he ruled entirely in my favor. Karen and the homeowner association were ordered to pay a substantial fine and my legal fees. The homeowner association was forced to disband. much to the relief of many of my neighbors who had been silently suffering under Karen's reign of terror, and Karen herself was slapped with a restraining order, barring her from coming within 100 feet of my property. As we left the courthouse, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. "Well, Karen," I said, unable to resist a parting shot, "I hope you enjoyed your time as a homeowner. Maybe next time, try buying a house the old-fashioned way, with your own money and the actual owner's consent." The look on her face was priceless. In the weeks that followed, life in the neighborhood slowly returned to normal. Without the homeowner association breathing down everyone's necks, people started painting their houses fun colors and letting their kids put up tree houses. Karen put her house up for sale and moved away, unable to face her former subjects. As for me, I'm still in my home, enjoying my non-homeowner association freedom. And every time I mow my lawn, whenever I feel like it, I think about Karen and smile. Some lessons are learned the hard way, and Karen learned that you can't just claim someone else's property as your own no matter how entitled you feel. It's good to be home. The next one is a petty revenge story. I, M16, have a cousin, F16, who had always looked down on me and my family. We don't have much money and can't afford things like holidays or anything expensive. She has always gotten everything she could ever want from her parents. We grew up together and she had made fun of me for this for my whole life, even though it shouldn't matter in the slightest. When I was 14, my phone had pretty much stopped working. The screen would freeze and ghost tap often, as well as needing to restart to charge. I saved for a new phone for a year. At the end of the year, I researched a phone to buy. I like to take pictures, so a good camera was important to me. I decided I wanted an iPhone 13 Pro Max, same model as my cousin. I had never had an iPhone before. This was around the time the iPhone 14 released. I had a look, but couldn't afford anything more than the standard model, so decided not to, as they're basically the same phone. I very proudly told her I had saved enough to get a new phone, and she asked me what model I was thinking of. I told her I was planning to buy the 13 Pro Max. She did that thing where she scoffed at the same time as holding a laugh while looking me up and down. I hadn't felt bothered about her doing this for years, but for some reason this pissed me off so much. When ordering my phone, I decided to buy the 14. Not because it's better, but because I knew it would irritate her, and it was only a $10 difference. It arrived a week later, and when she seen it, she looked pissed. She spent a while trying to convince me her phone is somehow better, there's no difference. She didn't speak to me for a while, over a phone. Cousin smashed hers so her dad would buy her the 15. She did not get the 15. I've still got my phone over a year later and she's going strong. Best purchase ever. It's more petty than revenge, but The next one is a malicious compliance story. I used to work permanent nights. On nights we often had sickness at the last minute that no one was willing to come in and cover. So we used to all help out one another. We didn't do it for the praise or for additional money. There wasn't any. We did it because we were colleagues for years and there was no one else. Inevitably, our work was taken for granted. The managers never thanked us for helping them out of the shit, but they also started to assume that we would cover everything, so they made less and less effort to arrange cover for absence, even planned absence they knew about in advance. On night before work, I came into work and received a crappy email complaining about staff in our department using the computers of another department. Now we had our own computers. The only time my department ever used the other department's computers was when we were covering their absence. The email chain showed the other department complaining about us to my manager, who sent out an email to all the night staff in my department saying, "From now on, do not use the other department's computers." I was fuming, because as I said, we only did it to help out, and to stop the other department having to cover night staff at short notice. But I thought, fine, that's how it is. The very next night, the other department is short-staffed again. The supervisor on that shift asks me to cover their department. I say no, I can't. I have been told not to use their computers by my manager. The supervisor says, "Oh no, that's okay, you can use them." I say, "No, I can't. My manager told me not to under any circumstances." So she gets her manager to call me, the same manager who complained about us, and say, "For this one shift, you can use our computers," as if she is doing me the favor. So I say, "No, I really can't. You are not my manager. I cannot defy my manager's instructions." Because they can't get my manager on the line that late a night, another supervisor had to come in last minute and cover the shift. The next one is an entitled People's Story. Hi all. This afternoon I went to meet a friend by a nearby cafe. My mom's dog was staying with me. I've known her since she was a puppy. She is now 9, and I took her with me. I'll call her Fig in this post. We took a quick stroll around the park and sat in a nearby air-conned cafe. probably 20 mins from leaving my door to the cafe. We kept in the shade and made the walk brisk as my friend had a baby, and Fig is relatively senior. She just curled up and rested. Also to add, it was about 27 degrees where I am. A random lady sitting behind me abruptly said, "You need to give your dog some water." I was taken back because she came out of nowhere, and politely replied that I had just done so at the park. Then she muttered something like, "Clearly it's not enough." So I got her water bottle, the kind that's half bowl, and Fig just looked at it and went back to napping. I turned to the lady and said, "Look, she's perfectly content and just wants to nap, and I'd appreciate it if you were more direct with your comments rather than being passive-aggressive." To which she was startled and goes, "What? I wasn't, but your dog is looking unwell and I'm gonna say something if I see an animal suffering. I'm a vet, and dogs don't drink out of that. You need to get her a bowl." Fig has had her carrier bottle bowl for some time and loves it. I asked her if she had dog also, and she said yes. The fact that she said that I was making Fig suffer really got to me, and I got upset. I told her that she had no reason to make unnecessary comments and that I knew my dog well enough. She was half dismissive but kept trying to have the last word, saying stuff like, "It's really unfair of you to take her out in this weather. You should have waited until tomorrow." I told her that I was on my lunch break during my 10.5 HR shift today, and it would have been unfair to not walk Fig during that time. She then goes, "Well, I was going to say you could have taken her outside after your work." I told her I did the pavement check and she didn't know what that was. Anyway, when I called her out for her behavior, she kept coming back with comments like that my dog was suffering, what I was doing was not right, and I didn't know how to take care of her properly. That kind of generic but hurtful comments. She downed her Coke, presumably because she was uncomfortable, and got up to leave. I asked her if she worked local, and she goes, "No, do you?" I don't know why. I told her that she was insufferable, and she told me to take care of my dog and left. Afterwards, the girls at the table next to us told me to ignore her and that she was just being a Karen, and you can't win against a Karen. One of the cafe staff came over and asked me if I was okay, saying that that was really hard to watch and that Karen was in the wrong. 2 more staff joined in on the convo, and they told me she's a regular and they give her a local seller's discount, clearly not a non-local, and we doubt she a vet. One of the girls said that this lady always gave her bad vibes. Anyhow, I now feel really weird and upset by this situation. I've known Fig since she was a puppy. I treat her like my own and I love her so much. My mom completely trusts me with her and knows that I adore and take good care of her. I'm also a dog walker / sitter, so I do know the protocols of keeping a doggy safe in hot weather. As said, today was on the toasty side, so I did everything to keep her happy and cool but still getting her fresh air. I know that stuff she said were accusatory and false, but I guess I'm more upset at the audacity of someone thinking they have the right to say this to a stranger. Have situations like this happen to you before? How did you deal with it? The next one is an entitled parent story. I was just hoping for some advice on this. So, I'm 21, a college student living at home and not paying rent. I do not have a job. My mom, in her 50s, first and foremost, is disabled. She is heavily obese and has a lot of health problems and physical pain that causes movement to be hard for her some days. Some days are worse than others. The point of making this post on this sub is that my mom, as I grew up, often insulted me. When she has gotten mad, she has called me many names and curse words. This has happened at least since I was 10. I remember 2 big fights in the past 3 years, where in the first one she felt like I didn't help her out enough with her disability, and she called me worthless, said that I was ungrateful, and threw things at my closed bedroom door from the adjacent room, where eventually she accidentally hit a picture frame besides my door and broke the glass. The next fight was much more recent, only being last year, when I didn't take her advice of taking a fanny pack on a plane I was going on. She called me an idiot, a stupid idiot, a know-it-all, and such. She physically, despite her pain, I guess, blocked my way out of the room when I tried to leave, and slammed open my door multiple times when I eventually made it back to my room. It eventually escalated to my dad defending me, and they argued with each other. That led to her telling me my dad and her would get a divorce because of me, and that I would be happy, wouldn't you? However, despite of all this, she had gotten better the last year. She hadn't insulted me at all, hadn't gotten mad to that degree anymore. Our relationship improved. I even sought her out for comfort when I was having a depressed episode the other week. But, as I originally mentioned, I don't have a job. As I've been struggling to find one, I've been actively applying for months, And the farthest I've gotten were some interviews, but I haven't been successful. It's been really demoralizing. So, a couple days ago, I overheard her telling her friend that I was not trying hard enough to get a job, and that if I wanted to be treated like an adult, I should get a job like a normal adult. Her saying that just brought everything back, so I've been avoiding her as much as I can while living in the same house as I try to deal with the feelings it gave me. The problem is, she's noticed as she often comes to me for help with chores and household stuff like making dinner or cleaning up. She's getting more mad at me because of me avoiding her, and my dad this time agrees with her that I should be helping her more on account of her disability, that she loves me, and just because I'm pissed off doesn't mean I shouldn't help out. But I don't understand why I should help her when she says these things about me. Then also, I don't know what to do, as I can't just move out on the spot. I don't have a job, and I have had a lot of trouble finding one. The only good thing is that my dad refuses to make me pay rent, while my mom wants me to. I don't know what to do, and I don't know why I should help her. And I just don't know how much I can take living with her if she starts insulting me again. I'm scared of it, and I would like any advice that might help my situation, if that's okay. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.